It is the end of the month and we are still red. What the f? Hey guys, it's Will. Welcome to the channel. I'm a part-time day trader trying to become a full-time. I want to break down my month of July and my performance, my trades, and just everything in general on July, what I need to work on. Right now we are in the privacy filter. I am going to change it to dollar amount. I am down $224. Trade win percentage is 16.67. Profit factor is 0.28. Day win percentage is 16.67. And average win to loss is 1.39. It's a lot of numbers going on over here. But all you guys need to know is that I'm down. Average win to loss is decent. It's like over a 1, so that's fine. It's because my risk reward is fixed, so I'm doing a lot better with that. But I did take a small W over here. That is why my risk reward is really skewed. If I didn't have that, it should have been at like 2 to 1. I also started paper trading at the end of the month because there was a lot of shit going on that I just needed to just not even trade my real money because I just kept losing. And my mental state is not right in the game of trading and I don't know what's going on. So I did take a trade on here. So on Thursday I lost about, I don't know how much, $60, $50, and then I lost 2 trades on these 2 days. So I should be down probably about $350 this month. And even though it's not my real money, I'm still going to add it into this amount because I don't really care about this amount if it's like, if I'm not including everything. If I did include this July 1st win, like I think I won about $30, but it's still gonna be around $300 loss. I basically only won 2 times this month, this date right here and July 1st. So I'm not really happy with that. I won 2 trading days out of 9 trading days. So that is a pretty bad win rate and that's like under 20%. Pretty shit. In my last video, I said I want to at least get 3 months of profitability and it has to be 3 months in a row. If it's not 3 months in a row, I'm going to keep paper trading until I get 3 months in a row. If not, then I'm never going to go back to my live account because it makes no sense. If I'm not consistent, then what's the point of me trying to trade my real money? Although I did in the last, the whole time I've been trading, but it's like at this point I'm getting a little tired of it. I probably should have done this before, but my ego takes away. I want to make money. I believe in myself, so I believe I can make money. I can be consistent, and I've done it in the past, but I just never got that 3rd month of profitability. And when I got that 3rd month, I was thinking of scaling up. But every time I got that 3rd month, something just happened. That means there's something deeper going on in my trading. That's why it's better to make the mistakes now. And I just rather not lose my money and just like learn from it. And then once I find my consistency again, then I'll go back to my live account. And then hopefully I'll do pretty good from there. Starting off on July 1st, I did have a really good trade. And that really kind of solidified myself of like just finding myself again, like understanding what I need to do. And that's why I did make a video where I'd say I'm going to be disciplined, going to be consistent, all that type of shit. And I was very confident in myself. But as you see in this month, I just lost everything. And I didn't expect that. I thought I'll be doing a lot better. As you see, there's a bigger issue going on, and that's market structure, and that's also my strategy. Here is the 30-minute time frame. Up here is the NASDAQ, up here is the ES. So what I'm looking for on the previous days is a break and retest. And at this point, I'm not really taking into consideration of market structure as well. Anywhere it is reacting, anywhere is like looking really well. Like you see up here, the 22,855. I have reactions right there. It rejects here and also the pre-market, and it's also rejecting there. If I do see a reaction there, if I do see a break and retest and I see the pattern is formed well, I see a proper break and retest, then I'll take the trade. Maybe the ES is weak, but I still take the trade because I still see a break and retest. But it really depends on my mindset and how I'm looking at the charts. Right now, I'm just reading the market structure pretty bad. I'm just like viewing everything really bad. So I'm just taking a lot of trades and not being patient enough, and I'm losing from that. The trade that I took today that maybe win some money was this zone right here. You see the 22,720. I did see a break and retest of that level. And then ES was kind of like chopping up around this zone right here. And once it was rejecting this 62.45 area, then I was more confident in taking the trade. If I do look to the left of this level right here, it's like not really that clear. It's like kind of choppy on this day. But once I saw it in the charts, it looked really clean. Even though I could look at the market and just understand what I'm looking at, and it looks really A+ to me, the trade can work like that. But most of the times, my mindset has to be right. My trading and my mental state has to be super on point for me to even win the trade. Because before, I would even look at the charts and I'll have levels. Once I see a really A+ pattern, I'll just take the trade because I know what I like seeing. If I'm not reading the market structure right and then my headspace is just not there, and I'm just taking random trades, even though it's breaking that structure, I'm just taking random trades because I'm not reading the market right. But why not just have better levels? Why not actually have a proper strategy? And that once it does break and give me a good retest, then it is a really good trade. Maybe the retest doesn't work as well, but it still works because the level actually makes sense. It's not some small demand zone, is not some small supply zone. That's why this area right here, this actually made sense because this was the previous days of the NASDAQ. So what I look for is also the pre-market area right here. So all I had to do was just wait for a break and retest of that level, and I could got a good trade. If I do go to the 2-minute time frame, that's what happens right here. The pre-market was the 22,780, and I kept holding like intraday, and then later it gave me that break and that retest right there, and that was my entry. That was already a 3-to-1 right there. That's the A+ trade of the day. This trade right here also worked really well. This is basically where I got it, and that was an amazing trade as well. But this level is kind of hard to say that it's really good because it was a demand zone from back then. Since the chart looks really well, that's why it worked. But sometimes it can be choppy, and then I take the trade still and I lose, and I'm wondering why I lost. But it's because the demand zone is not as strong as of a level as just breaking down the previous day's levels. The first trade I took on this day, I did lose because I changed my stop loss, because I was changing my stop loss a lot in June and just moving it to break even. But most of the times I noticed that the break and retest strategy, it always pulls back a lot, and just me changing up my strategy and just me changing up a lot of things on June, it made me realize I lost too much. I got stopped out, and I'm wondering why did I even get stopped out, because I feel like this trade could still work. And then once I started seeing this candle break, I entered on the ES because the Nasdaq was a bit too far gone, so I entered on the ES right here, and it worked really well. I targeted 3-to-1. That was a really good trade. So I got stopped out, but then since I went to the ES, I went to trade the ES. The risk is a bit different, so then I got a 3-to-1 there. But since I was only risking 4 points, that was only a $20 amount risk. So when I actually made the money, I only made $60. So it was like the risk reward was skewed because I traded on a different market. After that, I felt really confident in myself. I felt confident in myself because I just realized I don't need to change my stop loss. I don't need to keep changing all these things I've been doing in June. And that if I just stick to my strategy and just stick to everything, I can just do really well in July. But as you see in July, a lot of things were just messy. A lot of things were just losses. Here is July 7th. I did take 2 trades. The levels I'm charting out is the same how I normally chart. I didn't change it up until like the end of July. So on the Nasdaq, I do have this level of the 912 area right there. It was the pre-market low. The only thing about this level is that it is wicking off the pre-market and it looks really well. But the previous day, it's kind of choppy. So it's hard to say if it's a really solid level. Although my levels can be accurate, but just timing the market, being patient, and executing on the same day, that's the thing that matters the most, even if your levels are great. I was wondering if this was even a good level to trade off of, because when I look at the ES, it looked more clear. You see how there's a high right there? That's basically the previous day's highs, and it rejected off that level, rejected here as well. And then the pre-market, it held exactly at these levels. When I do go to the 2-minute time frame, did actually break the structure on basically the same time. We're getting a nice break, retesting the market. I was thinking about getting the ES first, probably because the market structure was better. But at the same time, I kind of forgot about it. This area wasn't really a strong break, since I normally like a strong break and then like a retest like that. It basically forms a bear flag into the retest. So it wasn't really that well. So that's why I did look at the Nasdaq instead. The Nasdaq had a bigger break. It was forming that bear flag that I liked, and that's why I did take the trade. I lost the trade. I then re-entered it because I thought it was still working, because I still see the ES working. I lost because I chose the wrong market. The Nasdaq was a bit choppy and I chose that market. The ES never broke above this wick high that I was going to take the trade off. I would have gotten my 3-to-1 there. I was like, okay, I charted right, I charted the levels right, but I just traded off the wrong market. So I'm still doing decent at this point, but it was annoying that I just chose the wrong market. Wednesday comes by and I take a really nice trade, but that was a supply rejection. Just reviewing all this month and just reviewing all my trades, I'm not doing supply rejections anymore. So I wouldn't count that as my A+ strategy anymore, but I did have a nice trade right there. Since my risk reward is better now, all I need is 1 trade to take away 2 trades. So that was happy with that. I was up $20 that week. Then we go to the next week. This is where like everything gets bad, because I did not take any trades Monday and Tuesday. So felt fine, felt disciplined, just been patient. And then Wednesday, Thursday, just nothing was good. Now we're in July 16th. This is the Wednesday. This level here on the ES, the 6300, I did not have that level right there because it was kind of choppy. You see how it is holding right here, holding right there, but then this day was kind of choppy. But then if I do realize it, it was actually holding well and then rejecting, and then the pre-market rejected right there. And I did have this ES or the Nasdaq level because this was the previous day's lows, and it rejected like nicely there. Keep in mind that I never categorized this as previous day's lows before. I just look at the market, I look at the charts, wherever it's respecting, I just put level there because it respected there. I never thought of it as its previous day's lows. And then we do have this 23,000 level on the Nasdaq. We see how it's rejecting right here, rejecting, and then it does a break and retest there. Holds really well. But the only problem was this level right here was super choppy, but I kept it in my charts anyways. And that's a big problem. That right there is a big problem because it's super choppy. And when I look at the ES, I had this shelf level right here, this 6280 because it was wicking up multiple times on the pre-market and it was rejecting right there, had holds right there, rejected right there. When I go to the 2-minute time frames and I basically missed this trade right here. I missed the trade because I realized it after that. I'm like, oh damn, that was actually a good trade, but I didn't take it. I got a little bit FOMO right there and I'm like, maybe I can still catch this move. Not catch the move, but still like play the continuation into the trade because we're in a weak market. I later see the Nasdaq break down and it didn't really give me the proper retest because it was a bit far. And so I was like, okay, damn, I missed the trade, but it looks like it's working. It slowly started to get bought back up. That's when I was realizing maybe this is the retest that I needed. But at the same time, the ES just held right there. And I was thinking of shorting this market when this level is really choppy. I was hoping that if this market breaks down, the ES will break down. But there was two things in my head that was going on. This level is choppy. Is this really gonna work out? And that, is this breakdown really gonna continue if this ES is holding right there? I was debating that in my head, but I still took the trade. And that was the problem. I lost on the trade. I started seeing it work again. I took the trade again. I took 2 losses. The issue on this day is that I'm not charting really well. That's why I lost, because I'm taking a trade. And since my mental state is not really like doing well this day, I lost because I took the trade when it was choppy, when it didn't break down the ES. If my mental state was good, I probably wouldn't have even taken the trade. But why always battle my mental self when I can just chart better levels and not even worry about it? Going into Thursday, July 17, here is a 30-minute chart. The previous days, that's where I lost. And now we are above the levels right here. We are above the previous day's highs. And what I see in the bigger time frames is that it did a nice break and it was retesting the level. And then we do have this area right here on the Nasdaq. This was all-time highs. I did chart out that level right there. And then the ES as well, the 63.15 level right there. And when I do look in the 2-minute time frame, I did see this level right here. It was wicking off this level. I was debating if I really should take it. And then it started wicking off. It went up over here. I was debating too much if I really want to take the trade. And it ended up working, my 3-1. I got some FOMO right there because I missed the trade. Once I missed the trade, I was like, okay, maybe this trade can still work. And this is where it all goes bad. I keep saying maybe this, maybe that. I see the pre-market high right there. And then I see the intraday high right there. So it does break. And I was thinking maybe it can retest this level and then go higher. It's because before this, the ES did the break. And then I was waiting for the retest. I didn't really get the retest that I wanted to of this level right here. So that's why I decided to take the Nasdaq area right here. But for the Nasdaq, I basically made this trade up and it didn't work because I completely ignored the supply rejection on the market. I took that loss right there and it said, why don't I just wait for this break and retest? Why don't I just wait until the market gets above this level and wait for the break and retest? It fully gets above this level and does a nice break and retest, but I decided to short the market after. So at this point, I'm doing random things because my psychology is not there. My mental state is not there because I'm trying to short in a bullish market and I'm just not reading the market right. I'm just taking random trades that doesn't make sense to me anymore. And that's why I just keep losing. Just keep taking a lot of L's. Although my risk management is well because I'm only taking 2 trades, but I'm just taking a lot of losses. Then we go to July 23rd. They take 2 losses again. Here is the 30 minutes on July 23rd. On the Nasdaq, we do have this level 23,170, and it's because it is wicking off right here. And this day is not super clear, but it's like holding pre-market. On the ES, we do have this previous day's highs around this area and the pre-market there. I was only going to short the market unless we break this area right here and this area right here. But if I look at the 2-minute time frame, I saw the break of the Nasdaq and I took the short right there. But we still are above the previous day's highs on the ES. And I was thinking that since this area was a previous day's highs on the ES, this Nasdaq can still break down and this ES can break down and retest the zone right here. I'm shorting right now when the market isn't bearish and we still are holding previous day's levels. We still are like in a strong market. That is why I lost this day, because I took a trade because I saw one of my levels break and do a retest right there. Since my mental state is like bad at this point, I took a trade because I saw something. Normally, I would not take a trade like this because it's super choppy and it's not respecting the zone, but I did take a trade right there. That's why I started backtesting a lot, trying to understand what my A+ setup is and just not take random zones every single time and just chart out properly, see what's actually working. Because I would normally just chart levels and just take trades off of break and retests. But now I'm categorizing my trades. I'm like trying to figure out why it is working better and what is working, all that sort of stuff. That is my recap of this month. Took a lot of L's, took a lot of losses, and I'm trying to learn from them. I took a lot of random trades this month, and really this month was me trying to find my A+ strategy, trying to really dive deep into my strategy and understand what my game plan is and just understand what I'm really looking for in each day and focusing on my strategy. I don't want to have just like random levels in my chart, and just because I can read the market sometimes really well, then I can take really good trades. But if I'm doing bad, if I'm reading the market bad, then I'm just going to take a lot of losses. So I need to really focus on my levels, focus on my strategy, and then I got to fix that. That is what I've been doing the past couple weeks. I've been slowly understanding what's really been working for me. And although I'm still losing, I feel like it's because I'm changing some things up that are making me trade a little differently. I have better levels, but my timing and my patience is a little off, and I need to focus on that. I also started trading gold, the micro gold right here. This trade right here is just like a random trade because I wanted to see if it actually worked on my live account. But I am going to add it into my playbook, trying to see if it works, if it still follows the same break and retest strategy, and just back test it a bit. If it does do well, then I'll like add it into my playbook. I realized for trading gold is that there's only a couple trades in a month. So if I can add that into my playbook, I can add a bit more trades and more opportunities, but that can also mean more opportunities of losing. I did lose the other day on gold. It was looking really well, but it was like not, my patience was not there. My timing was not there. I was like taking the trades too early, and that is why I lost. And I don't want to just give up on it because I lost one day, and I want to give it more time, like maybe a month or two, and just see if I can do well on it. Then I'll just add it to my playbook. The last thing I want to talk about moving forward to next month is that I do want to focus on my trade execution, like how patient I am, how disciplined I am, and just waiting for my setup to happen. I can read the market structure right, but I just need to wait for the proper break and retest. That's one of my focuses for next month. But my next focus is only taking one trade in a day. One trade and I'm done. I said this in the past, but I later decided to take 2 trades again. It doesn't make sense for me to take 2 trades because every time I take 2 trades, majority of the time, if I take 100 trades, majority of the time, every time I take 2 trades, I lose. Maybe only 10 out of the trades or maybe 5 out of the trades I actually win. But what's the point of me even trying to do that if I'm just losing most of the times? Although it sucks that if I lose in the morning, like early morning, and I'm just like done for the whole day, it sucks really bad that I can't take any more trades. But statistically showing, my data shows that every time I take 2 trades, majority of the time I lose. So what's the point of me taking more than 1 trade a day and making my losses stack up? So for August, I'm only gonna take 1 trade a day and just focus on that. The only thing that should tell me that I should take 2 trades is my data. If I'm taking 1 trade a day and I keep missing out on the second trade, if I'm like, damn, I should have taken that second trade, I could have made money. If that keeps happening, if I keep missing opportunities because I took out my second trade, then I should add my second trade back in. But if I just keep losing every time and just stacking up losses, there's no point in me trading like this. Why not just be patient? Why not just be disciplined, wait for the proper setup, maybe even give a bit more risk, and then I can let my play out. But if I take 2 losses, I'm gonna lose more than taking 1 trade and increasing my risk a bit. That is all I have for July. Hopefully the next month is better. I'm gonna take a hopefully because I'm not trying to hope. I'm trying to put in my skills. I'm trying to be disciplined and get 1% better every day. And what I like to say is how you do one thing is how you do everything. Keep staying disciplined, keep staying consistent, and let's just get 1% better every day. And I'll see you in the next one.